Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk through the various elements of the enemy action phase. And in this phase the enemy can fight against your units, they can move, and you will roll to see if more enemy enter the board. So in the first part is the enemy attacking your units. So in this example here, this occurs when we have an enemy German unit here and one of your airborne units in the same zone. So for example here, this would the combat would occur. And it's much like the normal combat, except you roll 2 dice for the German unit. Let's suppose we get a 4 and a 5, and then you roll the number of dice based on your defense attribute for your unit. And let's suppose it's a single dice and you get 3. Your 3, to defend successfully, your 3 needs to be equal or beat the highest number from the German dice, which is a 5, which it's not. And in that case, your unit then is disrupted, and you can put a disrupted counter underneath them. Combat would not occur here. They're not in the same zone. They're next to each other, but not in the same zone. And it would not occur here because obviously the enemy unit's not there. So it only occurs when you're in the same, when you have a unit in the same zone as the Germans in their phase, right? Another example could be, let's suppose this unit here already has a disrupted counter on it. Combat's exactly the same. 2 dice for the Germans. You roll the number of dice for your defense, which we know is 1 because they're already disrupted. If you don't get a high enough number, let's say you get a 1, don't get a high enough number, then your unit is out of the game. They have been captured and they are no longer combat effective, and they are out of the game. If you have an example could be where you have 2 German units, you would resolve 1 at a time. So the first unit, 2 dice, again your number of defense, you resolve that one and then you move on to the second one. So it is possible, in theory, for your unit, if they're having to defend against 2 attacking German units, in the first attack, or the first unit to be disrupted, and then the second unit could take them out of the game. It is possible. The other example I can give is you can use a bravery point to increase, to re-roll one of your dice, if you to re-roll your dice if you want to, like normal bravery, just like normal combat. And if you haven't watched the combat video, I would suggest you watch that. And that's how the German combat works against your units in this part of the German action phase. The second part of the German action phase is the German movement. And I've got a few examples here ready to help illustrate the mechanic. So you've done the combat, if there is any combat, and now you're going to do the movement. What happens here? Every zone where there is not a British airborne unit with the German unit, that German unit can move. So that unit can move into there. Okay, you don't resolve the combat. You will not do that until the next turn. That's why the movement comes after the combat. Move into there. This unit would move into here, and this unit over here would move into here. And again, you're following the same path route, as it were, as exactly the same as if it was your movement. And the Germans would end up at the beach defences. The Germans cannot enter the beach exit, but they can move up to the beach defences. If, to help just demonstrate that again, let's suppose there was combat and there was no resolution, no outcome from the resolution, I should say. They would move into here. That unit, put them back, that unit would move to there. But that unit can't move because they're already in a zone with a British airborne. So that would stop them from moving. So what you can do in the sort of tactics of the game, you can run a risk a little bit and hold the Germans in their zones. Especially useful for the villa and as they're approaching the beach defences. And you're fighting deliberately fighting and stopping the Germans advancing too quickly into the beach defences. Especially important on this section of the map, which we'll come to in the next segment when we talk about how the enemies can appear on the map in this phase. Okay, in this part of the phase, then we are now going to roll to see if more German reinforcements enter the board. And there's two places they can enter. Rectangle and the Brunneval Coastal Defence Road. And you simply do the chart. You roll 2 dice on the chart to see if they enter. You roll 2 dice per entry point. So for example, let's say we'll roll first for the rectangle. Okay, we roll 2 dice. If we get a 7 or more, the enemy counter enters, but there is a modifier of -2. So let's say we get an 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. Need a 7 or more, which we get, so a German enters. If we get a 7 on the dice, which is the most common combination of the 2 die, it's still -2, so it would be a 5. The Germans do not enter. We need to get a 7 or more for the Germans to enter at rectangle with the -2 modifier. However, for the Brunneval Coastal Defence, over here, we roll 2 dice, exactly the same, and we need a 7 or more to enter. But there is no -2 for the Brunneval Coastal Defence. So let's say we get a 5 and a 2, 7, then a unit enters. Straightforward. Let's pick some edge case scenarios just so we can fully explain the rules. If there is already an infantry counter, doesn't matter. Roll exactly as I explained. Secondary counter can enter. Only one counter can enter at each location in a turn. But if there was one there already from a previous turn, for whatever reason, then another one can enter. The most common reason for that would be if they're in combat. And in the German phase, the German action phase, the combat's not. There's been no outcome, no change because of the combat. We still roll to see if that second unit will enter, and they can if you get the dice roll, and they will enter, and so forth and so forth. The mathematical, as I've tried to explain, there's basically a lot less chance of Germans entering at the rectangle. There's a lot more chance of them entering on the Brunneval Coastal Defence. This is because in the history there were Germans that were making their way down this road towards, and in the game that can be a real problem for the player. You have to be able to contend with the Germans entering, and also, as you can see, there's less zones for them to get to those beach defences. And you don't want as many as possible. You want as few as possible Germans in those beach defences. They're going to make your life very hard getting off the beach exit. So you're going to have a sort of fighting ability there to be able to stop them and give the other units time to get down to the beach exit. It's one of the key sort of strategic parts of this game. Those decisions you have to make, and they're not easy decisions to make, because every turn there's more chance of those Germans entering and coming down and moving down this road than there is entering here. So yes, that's something you need to, that's one of the key sort of strategies of the game. So just to go over that again just briefly, in the German activation or the German action phase, you're going to roll to work out combat within the same zone. you're going to roll. You're going to move. Sorry, the Germans as they move through the map, and then you're going to roll to see if there's reinforcements entering the map at those places.